But
maybe let me say this because I think it will maybe help you in your reflections later when you're trying to
yeah.
when you start deciding to work towards something, right? Because like
Hmm.
I think for me, breaking out of that, because I was in the similar situation where I had little things that I had been doing, and when they don't work out, I'm like, okay, on to the next, right? But then I had to ask myself, like, essentially, what is my goal at the end of the day? And this is what stopped me, like, thinking or
Hmm.
hooking up with people, right? It was like understanding that my goal, essentially, at the end of the day, in a few years from now, I want to have a wife, you know,
Hmm.
I hope to have kids at some point. I want to like, somebody say like, the biggest gift you can give to your kids, a father can give his kids is to love their mother, right?
Hmm.
And that struck with me for a long time because I realized like even my friends that are happy and emotionally healthy, they come from households in which their father loved their mom so much, right? And I was like, that is my goal. That's my hope, right? My goal is to
Hmm.
settle down at a certain point. And so I realized like what I had to ask myself in the same way that we ask ourselves like academically. And I think you could use your ambition and academics and achieving things and translate it because it translates very well and realize it's a goal like anything else. Emotional well-being is a goal like anything else.
Hmm.
Uh, a healthy relationship is a goal like anything else. You have to put in time, you have to put in work like you put in when you're studying and preparing for an examination, right? And so like transferring that like really helped me realize that okay, if this is my goal, then like fucking a random girl on a Saturday night that I met at a club is probably not the right. It's not probably not going to be an ingredient into that goal, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like
Hmm.
preparing for an exam, but going out with your boys and turning up the whole night when you have an exam next morning. It's not going to help you get where you're trying to go. And so I had to step back a little bit and be like, okay, if that is my goal and kindly I'm not doing that, something that's gonna get me to my goal, I'm like setting myself up for disaster. And I was because like some of the shit that comes out from doing things in the short term and living in the short term is that you become you acclimatize to that. You get used to
Yeah.
way
It
of doing things.
compounds. Mhm.
You get like over time, right? You become that person who's a short-term person to an extent that
Yeah.
like being in a long-term thing, it's hard. Like for example, you don't even know how to keep someone first of all, but how to keep them happy and interested in you and stuff like that. But not only that, but like going through shit together and like solving shit because shit is gonna come all the time, right? But if you're
Yeah.
in the
True.
short term, it's just like, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna get another
Out.
girl.
Yeah.
You can't get another girl if this thing is long term, right? You gotta like work through it. So those are like valuable lessons you get from like setting a goal. And I think for most of us, we don't set a goal for these things, right? Like we just like leave and be like, okay. And I think that's part of like where our culture fails us as men is that we're told like we're just supposed to fuck, you know. You have to be like strong and like you have to be like good looking and stuff and just get anything you can get. But that actually works against the goal of you. But if your goal is like not settling down at some point, then it makes sense to be like, okay, I'm just gonna do short term things over and
Yeah. Keep doing the short term. Mm.
over. But it works towards that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
This is great. This is
Yeah.
great. I'm glad you mentioned
Yeah.
that you almost have to train
Yeah.
to be faithful. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
so this is exactly
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
I have struggled with this because
Yeah.
I've always believed that my next relationship should be the wife I marry. This
Mm,
is a belief I've always had.
yeah.
Um, and this is also what I've used as an excuse not to get into relationships.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what? I have to be sure that
Yeah.
I'm going to marry
You
you.
can't be sure
To
without
confirm.
being with that completely, right? That's the thing. That's the funny thing about it, right? Like for
Yeah.
you to know if this is a car that you want to have as a daily driver, you actually have to be engaged with the car completely and not think about any other car. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
this is kind of like a crazy fucked up example, but I think it gets to the idea of like what I'm trying to say is that like you have to be fully engaged in something and you have to be present
Mhm.
for you to
Yeah,
know
fully.
if to fully without thinking of anything else to know that if that's the thing that you want to be fully engaged in. You get me? It's,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, fully engaged. And I'm not worried about that part because
yeah,
naturally I'm a person who gives my all or nothing type
Yeah.
thing. Like when it comes to these relationships, the day you hear that Prince is in a relationship,
Yeah.
he said, that's it, done. Like
No,
it,
but I
and
also,
I think,
yeah, but I
yeah,
also don't want you to put that pressure on yourself, right? Because that
yeah,
pressure, like, because bro, that's the thing. Like, if you put that pressure on yourself, like, and you meet the next person, and you
mm-hmm,
will end up being hurt, like you were hurt with your first relationship. Because I know you were on that same wave that, okay, I've met my wife, like, okay, I want to marry this girl, type of deal. But like, you cannot know that from engaging with someone initially, because because someone is always gonna look good. They may meet
mm-hmm.
everything that checks on your list, but once you get to know them, you're like, oh shit, like this is not what I thought.
I kind of know why I was hurt, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So don't put that pressure on yourself. I think that's something
Yeah,
that you work through over time as you engage and relate with someone that like, oh shit, this is actually the wife. You feel me? Like, whoa, shit. Like she fits like everything that I'm trying to get and trying to look for. Because I feel like once you put that pressure on yourself, it's also a pressure that you're putting on somebody. Like, oh, you have to be this because you're my wife, because you're someone I'm considering marrying. You have to be in this way,
mm-hmm,
to act this way, and that could be a lot and very heavy. I find myself doing that sometimes too when I'm like, oh, I expect this. Like this is
mm-hmm.
what you have to be, and I put those expectations on someone, and that could be heavy for somebody to carry.